Welcome back to the ACA InDesign course. Now the next set of videos are split into 10 recordings. The reason being is they introduce a lot of things that some people will find easy and some people will need to redo again and again. So they're split into 10 shortish videos which you can easily redo at your leisure. Now what you're going to do is make a very simple magazine layout. What I mean by very simple is it's going to have a cover. It's going to have an advert on the inside of the cover. It's going to have your content page, very basic one, simply because there's only 2 articles within it. So first article and second article. Now things that also be introduced are page numbering, formatting the page numbering so it doesn't appear on certain pages, styles for objects, styles for text, and also text wrapping and advanced text wrapping. So before we begin, please make sure you've downloaded your InDesign sample files off the Moodle site. It's at the top of the Moodle part of the ACA, and extracted them onto your desktop. The folder we're going to be using most of the time will be the mag folder. So virtually everything we'll be doing will be from inside the mag folder inside the archive you download. Right, let's start with File, New, Document. What we can do with the new document wizard is select Print, because we're going to do a print publication, and I'm going to select the A4 preset. If you haven't got this preset, make sure you're on Print and make sure you click View All Presets, and then you should get a load more show up, and one of them should be A4. Select A4. We're going to leave most of this the same. Just a reminder, make sure Facing Pages is turned on because we're making a magazine. But the number of pages we're going to use in this example is 8. Columns we're going to leave as is for now because we're going to muck around with those later. But we are going to change the bleed and the slug. If you can't see the bleed and slug, it's probably because it hasn't been expanded. Just make sure you click on the drop down. The margins we're going to leave default. So for the bleed, we're going to use 3mm all the way around. If your measurements are not in millimeters, just check up the top that your unit of measurement is set to millimeters. So we're going to use 3. I don't know how that changed. I must have mistyped that. Sorry, 3mm all the way around. When you're happy with that, you can go back up the top, and we're going to save this as a preset. So I'm going to call it mag, and then mag again. Actually, I call this mag 2 because I've already used it. And do save, and you'll see there's a mag 2. This is where I was testing out over here. And now I'm going to simply click Create. We'll come back to some of those settings as we work through the document later. So if it's some of those you can't remember what the gutter is and things like that, we'll cover them again shortly. Now, at the moment we've got this document. We've got a bleed area. It's signified by the red line. The black line here before the white bit is the page border, and this magenta line is our columns and margins. So there is no columns at the moment, but when we add columns later on, you'll see the same colours appearing for that. Right, next up, we're going to go to our file. We're going to go back to our document setup, and we're actually going to put a slug on as well. So this time we're going to go to the top, and on the slug area I'm going to put a 20mm slug in. So if when you're first starting you do this all wrong, blah, 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 you can quickly just jump back into document setup and change it. Now I've put 20mm into the slug. You will have noticed it didn't jump into all of these ones because of the link icon here is turned off, and we only want it at the top anyway. When we did the bleed before, it went on to all the boxes because of the link icon was turned on. I'm going to do OK. Now if you have a look at the top, we have this new area that most of you have never seen called the slug. Now if you don't know what the slug is by default a non-printing area of your document. It's never designed to be printed. It's where you put notes and things like that in. Your editor might use it to say, oh, make sure you finish this section off before blah 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 blah, etc. Or if you're working in an office, and some pages, people are doing pages 1 to 10, you're doing 11 to 20, for example. They might leave a sign-off information on the articles, and that they've done, saying, right, this is complete. It's, I'm giving it over to you now to append, to your main document. Things like that. Right. To make sure our workspaces all look the same, all the way through these section, I'm going to be using this sort of layout. To get yours looking the same, Window, Workspace, Typography, and then just reset typography. So select typography, then go to Windows, Workspace, and reset typography. That'll make yours look roughly the same as mine. I'm going to go to my layers palette now, and we're going to add some more layers in. And I'll explain why in a moment. So down the bottom of the layers palette, you can add layers. So I'm going to add 2 more layers, and then I'm going to rename these, and it should be apparent why as I do this. So I'm double clicking on layer 1, and I'm going to rename this to images, and then just do OK. Layer 2 I'm going to rename to text, and do OK, and the top layer I'm going to rename to master, and do OK. The reason why I've done that is because most of the time your images are going to be below your text, and most stuff in the master is going to be on top of everything. It's just a simple way for me to keep track of what I'm doing. I'm not saying this is what you should do. If you work on just one layer, I know plenty of people do, fine. If that works for you, it's absolutely no reason why you can't do that. But you'll see later on why I tend to keep this separated, and I'll add an extra layer or 2 as we go along as well for other details. Right, I'm going to place an image on page 1. So I'm on my images layer. I'm checking my pages. I'm actually on page 1, and I can check down here at the bottom of the screen that I'm actually on page 1 as well. So I'm going to add an image in on my images layer. So we go to File, Place. So I'm in the InDesign folder, the mag section, and images. And in there I'm after the image that is step4.jpg. And I'm going to open that. Once I've got the loaded image icon, I'm going to draw a frame from top of the corner, in the bleed area, all the way down to the bottom bleed. Going to zoom out a little bit. Oops, a bit too much. There we go. So from the top all the way down. I've extended a bit across, but that's the size of the image. I'm just checking the edges, etc. Looks okay for me. I'm happy with as that is. Remember, you can check what the print's going to be like by holding your mouse button down here on this icon at the bottom and go to preview. Or if you've got nothing selected, do make sure you have nothing selected. So click on the empty part of the pasteboard and press the W key. Will switch between print preview and not. Now remember, the print preview does not show you the quality of the print, just how it will look. The layout will look on a print, not the quality. We'll discuss that later. Now with the first picture added, we're going to add some text to this. Always remember, by the way, if you're doing a picture that goes from the edge of the page, it should always extend into the bleed areas. Always. Now we're going to add some text to here. We're going to put the title in at the top here and add a strapline sort of thing. So I'm going to jump to my text layer, and when I'm moving between these layers I tend to lock them so I don't accidentally move things. So because I've locked my image layer, I can't accidentally move this image around now. So I'm going to go to my type tool. I'm going to draw a frame roughly that sort of size, and I'm just going to call this mag, M-A-G. Highlight it, and I'm going to change the font in this instance to Brush Script Standard. If you don't have this, it's available online, this font. You can download it and install it on your machine, or just choose a font that you like. I'm using Brush Script Standard. And then the size I'm going to do is going to make it roughly fill that area that I've actually done. So An easy way to scale this up is obviously you got some preset scales here, but if you put your mouse cursor in here so it's actually ready for you to type, then hold your shift key down and you can press up and down on your arrow keys, your cursor keys, to scale up rather fast. If you let go of the shift and do it, it will scale up a point at a time. So there, I've got 104 point. What yours is up to you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to match mine. We're just learning how to use the software. That is all. And I'm going to rescale my text frame slightly. Now I'm going to add another text frame below that, roughly the same size. And I'm going to change that again to brush script standard. So I'm just, rather than trying to find the font within here, you know, if I do down the drop down, if you just type in its name, so brush, for example, there we go, brush script standard, and then I'm just going to type the 80s are back. Again, I'm going to use that same little trick, highlighting the text and using the cursor keys to scale it up. Black obviously doesn't go well here, so we're going to change the color up the top, easiest way. We change it to paper and paper. Remember, this isn't white, even though it is going to be white. Paper just means the color of the paper that's coming through. It doesn't print any ink in that area. So if the paper going through the printer was actually pink, this would be pink. So be wary of that. But in most instances, your paper is always going to be white, you know. But remember, white, your printer doesn't print white. It can print white, but that would be a spot color. Remember, you have your spot and your process, so don't get the two mixed up. Now, if I'm worried about this, I'm kind of thinking this is just a little bit too big. So it just looks way too big. So I'm going to make this a little smaller. So I think that looks slightly better, as in the font size to the page. And then I'm going to use our tracking here. So again, I'm putting my cursor key in here to adjust the tracking, just to space it out a bit. So all I've done is made the font slightly smaller and used the tracking to space it out so it fills up more. So it looks like it's been justified. So let me just check my print preview. I'm happy with that. That works. So this is all eyeballed, by the way. So I'm very happy with that. That works for me. Now, a quick introduction or reminder to tracking and kerning, etc. in case you don't remember. I'm going to draw a little frame over here and type in welcome. Let's make it bigger so you can see it. Again, using trick. Right, welcome. I'll make the frame bigger as well. Now, tracking spaces out the entire selection of text, so it adds more space between each letter. By default it's set to 0. Kerning, the one above, as you can see, it's set to its unit of measurement. If you actually put the cursor between a couple of characters, you'll see it changes value. For here at the moment, it's actually 0. There's no spacing being applied there. But if I put it between the W and the E, for example, it's got a spacing of -97. And if you look, the cursor is actually overlapping. So this E is actually moved in to the W, or moved closer to it. So if I turn it all off, for example, so I set it all to 0, you see this is all like spaced out now. It's all gone a bit weird. By default, InDesign and a lot of software nowadays will actually do the kerning for you. It will justify it all. But if I put the cursor here now, you see it's spaced out properly, i.e. the font isn't overlapping itself. But we know just by looking at it ourselves, this looks weird. So you'll find the software nowadays will actually kern the fonts for you. So you tend not to have to worry about doing this, but you will use it. Like in this example, I adjusted the track in here, so this matched up slightly better. So in some designs, you may be designing some fancy invites, and that way you might need to adjust that. So it's a handy trick to know about where it is, etc., etc. So that's kerning, but most of the time the font's doing it for you, and you tend to only adjust it in certain design scenarios. So just remember where that is. You will need it for your exam at some point. Right, that is it for the first video. Like I said, they're short. They jump in, but they will introduce new things, etc., as we go along. So move on to the next one. If there's something you didn't understand, go back through the video, make sure you understand where it is, especially like creating new layers, what tracking and kerning is. If you don't understand, you can always ask us, or Google's always your friend. See you in the next video.